collapse?
Yeah, with absolute divine simplicity.
Yeah. Could you kind of expand on that? So, is the divine simplicity you hold to a modal collapse?
No, I don't see the modal collapse. I hold the absolute divine simplicity and that God is love, like God is logic, God is metaphysical, you know.
Okay. All right. So, would you say God's potentiality is identical to his essence?
Yeah, I think they're inseparable.
Okay. Well, are they identical? Is it identical?
Yep.
Okay. So, okay. So, his potentiality is identical to his essence, and his essence is necessary. So, by the law of transitivity, that means God's actions are necessary, right?
Yep.
So that's a modal collapse because that would mean that God's actions are necessary. That means God doesn't have free will.
No. Well, I mean, he doesn't have a libertarian free will. Like God can't do anything that's not in his nature to do.
You don't think it's a modal collapse though? Because it's like, I know what you're saying. It's like libertarian free will. I don't hold to that. I'm a Calvinist, by the way, 5-star.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. So anyway, I agree. Not necessarily, libertarian free will, but it's just like the modal collapse is when actuality, potentiality, necessary, and potential all get collapsed into one property, because that's divine simplicity. So the thing with a modal collapse is that's when all of it gets put into one category, and everything, by the law of transitivity of identity, everything becomes necessary. So if God's actions is identical to his essence, that means his actions are necessary, and that means God doesn't have free will. He cannot do his actions, just like how he cannot not exist.
Wait. God, well, okay, run that by me again.
I got you. So the thing is with a modal collapse, yeah, and by the way, brother, yeah, I'm Christian, by the way. Everybody in here, I'm Christian. Glory to God, the one true God, Jesus Christ himself. We're having a talk about divine simplicity. This is a philosophical conversation, and I know Bill Morgan is intellectual, and most people probably in the comments won't be able to grasp, but just bear with us. Bear with us, guys. All right. So, and it's whenever you say God is divinely simple, he has no properties but one property. That's why I understood when you say God is love, God is logic. I agree. Now, a modal collapse is when all of his properties get collapsed into one, like his actions and his potentiality. And the reason I asked you, like you said, it's inseparable. If his actions are identical to his essence and his essence is necessary by law of transitivity, that means his actions are necessary. So God cannot not do what he did. That means God doesn't have free will.
No, that that is a that's where I would push back and completely disagree because God is love. So everything God does is love. So whether you want to look at that as free will, necessary, whatever, everything God does is love. It's out of love. His love is necessary. So yeah, everything that God does is necessary.
Okay. And that would mean that I heard what you said, but that would mean that God, that is a modal collapse, because that means, God cannot do what he did in the Bible. That means God couldn't stop anything he's doing, literally.
Not that he couldn't, that he wouldn't.
And that's the modal collapse, But so you're saying God,
I
so
just don't see the
basically,
problem. I don't see a problem.
yeah, it's just whenever you think about it, it's because, it's like, I know you're a Calvinist, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I know what you mean about libertarian free will. Like, capitalism under it, under Calvinists. Libertarians, they believe in a whole lot of weird, like Arminianism. That's what they believe, right? Arminianism, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, Arminianism is just not Calvinism. It's kind of like Jewish and Gentile, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I'm trying to grasp it. It's because what you're saying is like, I hear you. It's just like, whenever the reason it's a modal collapse is because, and I feel you don't see the problem, It's just that like when you think like we have compatibilism under Calvinism, like God chooses the elect, but whenever God necessarily is necessary and everything is identical, that means nothing he cannot do. Everything is necessary, and that's just the modal collapse. That would mean that God doesn't have free will, and you agree God doesn't have free will, right?
Well, not free will in the way that you describe it, or like the way that you're laying it out, I guess. Like, so can God create a rock so big that he can't lift it?
Yo, of course that's logically impossible. Of course not.
Right. Right. So God can't do anything that's not love.
Okay, so
He can't do
so
anything
you
that's not logical, right? He can't do anything that breaks metaphysical laws. Like,
yeah, okay. Yeah, I see you. I agree. God logic, that is a paradox. Uh, he can't leave it. God can't get lost, or God couldn't unalive himself. I agree. That's the thing, but
it's not like a
everything
statement
is
of
out of
his ability and his power. It's a statement of, he can't do it because there's no desire to do it. It's like, I could technically, I have the power to eat poop, but I can't eat poop. Like, there's no desire. There's nothing, there's nothing in me that even leads me to thinking about eating poop except maybe a conversation. Like,
so could God have done different loving actions?
no,
Okay. Well, why
everything
why
he,
so,
so
brother?
God is the greatest conceivable being, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So everything God does, he does to the greatest conceivable in the greatest conceivable way.
Okay.
So no, he couldn't do it because everything he's doing is the greatest conceivable way to do it out of love and logic,
Okay.
the
Okay.
balance of all these things.
Yeah,
But
cause
love transcends all. Like, that's my view on absolute divine simplicity, and how I look at it
uh,
is that love transcends everything. Like, if God was just operating off of logic, like, things wouldn't play out the way they were. I mean, there's way more efficient way of doing things. But because love transcends logic, love transcends everything, that means that there's sacrifice. God makes sacrifice out of love. Like, he sacrifices efficiency. He sacrifices his reputation. He sacrifices up to his own life if he like it was to enter into our creation. Like, that love
yeah.
requires sacrifice.
Okay. Would you say like, cause when we think of all powerful, all knowing, right? Would you say love transcends that?
Mhm. Love transcends everything. Everything God is love.
So would you say God is all powerful, all knowing?
Mhm.
Okay, and you would just say that's identical to his essence?
Yeah, because God is love. He is all knowing. Because God is love, he's all powerful.
Okay. Yeah, that's a different way to look at it. Because most of the time I was having a conversation with somebody, he brought up time. Does time have to do anything with a modal, like with divine simplicity or a modal collapse?
Well, time, no, because time is part of creation, so that's ad extra, right? It's not ad intra.
Yeah, I'm glad you told me that because I just had a conversation with someone who was bringing up time whenever I was asking them questions about divine
Probably Zay.
simplicity. You said what?
Was it Zay?
Nah, it was Sig. It was Sig.
Oh, Sig. Okay, yeah. Zay
Yeah,
learns from Sig a lot, like they're buddies. But yeah,
yeah, okay. Well, yeah, man. Because honestly, if you don't see a problem with it, like, okay, now I understand. God could not have done anything else because what He does is to the most greatest or most perfect, like you said, right?
yep. There's nothing he could have done differently because he does everything the best way possible.
Okay. So you don't even so a modal collapse that doesn't even fall because it doesn't matter because that's what you hold to, right?
And I'm like, I could be wrong. And if you hear something, if you take this somebody, I mean, come back to me. Like, I want to be challenged. I don't want to believe things that aren't true.